someone was asking me about my own journey of transformation, let's call it, and what it was that kept me going through the many veils, through the many layers of coming undone, with the emotions and the body and the the years of being ill that I went through, and everything that came up with that, which is, if you've been on any sort of healing journey, you'll know that, body and emotion, body and feeling, body and fear, body and mind are innately and intimately connected. And so when the body, goes into something serious, symptomology, illness, ailment, problem, whatever you want to call it, the emotions and the mind are going to follow it around because they are included. And then the years before that, what happened really in my own particular change, and I think the thing that I wanted to convey in that conversation was not what I did, but the almost relentless never giving upness that I seem to carry innately through all those experiences. That's not to say I haven't reached some incredibly low, times, moments. I mean, very, very, very low, and very desperate, and almost at the point, you see, you have to ask, what does giving up mean? Because in retrospect, for me, I would say that in many ways, giving up is a doorway. Giving up the fight. It's a weird thing. Giving up the fight is a doorway to a deeper surrender, and in the deeper surrender, some innate healing can happen. A kind of giving up of the fight of oneself against everything that has happened and everything that is happening. But that giving up has to have no poor me resignation in it. So it's a giving up, but not giving in's not even the right word. It's giving up without resignation, giving up to a higher force without that being thought oriented. It is, this is a deep surrender. But it's active. It's not passive. The thing that carried me through many, many, many years was, something resolute within myself. Not some idea of destination. Oh, I'll, if I do this, then I'll be healed, then I'll be okay. A sort of primal instinct held me, has carried me. I also, despite the fact of being so ill with autoimmune and all of the symptoms that came along with that, which are a lot of, fatigue and debilitation, despite the, you see, I have two things going on. Despite the low energy on the level of the physical experience, I had a life force that was somehow almost unaffected, almost untouched by whatever was happening. I couldn't name it as, awareness or anything. It was not. I had none of that was available to me. But there was life force. That life force had some energy in it. And the life force and the energy carried me through, from one insult, one experience to another experience. I mean, it was a shock when I got ill, because I kind of thought that I'd healed a lot of things, and this was just on a whole different level, that took me down into the darkness for years. For years. I was with a motor, and we were in England, and I was housebound and on a healing path, whatever that means, kind of desperately trying to heal myself, but I couldn't go to medication because I needed some reason, a bit strange like that. Maybe I just needed to go through the experience and see what happened, and by, slowly, I crawled my way out of the darkness with a lot of help. I still had energy. You see, you can't do this without, you can't transform from the resigned self, the one who feels like a victim, the one who feels like a victim. You notice what I'm saying? Yeah, because there is no victim here. But the one who feels like a victim of circumstance, of suffering, of things that have happened to us, of the life choices that we made that were in error in so many ways. The wasted years, the regret, all of that kind of stuff that I've talked about a lot. The whole of the kind of past. And if and when things happen that really challenge us, like illness, or like loss in any sort of way, because illness, in a sense, is a similar experience to feeling the sudden grief of loss. Suddenly life is changing. Suddenly what I took to be reality is not the reality. This new reality I've been introduced to, and I don't like it. But there's not liking it is one thing, but feeling a victim of it tends to diminish the energy that you need to heal. So you have to be willing to dig deep into inner resources, not because you have to, but because you want to. Not because you have to, but because that's the longing. Because everything in this phenomenal world is designed, or is there to reflect us as individuations, and to really invite us to go inside ourselves. An illness, for instance, is one of the most profound invitations to go inside ourselves. And that going inside ourselves has two aspects to it. One is to surrender the victim, and to surrender who we thought we were and what we believed and what we took for granted, and the old idea we had of ourselves and all the past. And the other one is to find out who we really are and what we really long for and what we're really made of. What is our essence, and to start living from that place, and this activates a certain kind of healing mechanism within us, a certain healing momentum within us. And I think what I'm trying to say really is we need that energy. That energy is the life force energy. It's not like that. It's not like I'm going to be someone and I'm going to beat this There might be some of that sometimes, but the overriding thing is to rid oneself of resentment that anything has happened, to rid oneself of bitterness. I've seen the effect of bitterness in the world. I saw the effect of bitterness on my mother, God bless her, who became very bitter because of a divorce, and that bitterness she couldn't get rid of, and it buried itself in her body, and made her very ill, very, very ill, and very, very toxic. And she got autoimmune illness, and I'd say it was probably that killed her. And that was the effect of bitterness. I've seen the effect of guilt. That was on my father. I've seen the effect of guilt and how it shrivels you, and how it shrinks you, and how it then starts to manifest itself in the physical body, because it's toxic, because guilt and bitterness are toxic in so many ways, and they don't belong in the body system, the mind-body system. And so they either have to be, fully metabolized and then resolved, or else just resolved. Somehow or other we need the energy to be able to do that. And that energy, is in us all. But we have to start, being prepared to meet what comes, to meet what is, with an energy. It's actually the energy of yes. The energy of yes, this is here. And this is here to show me something and teach me something and tell me something. And so in that conversation that I had where somebody was asking me, what happened to you? I couldn't name the millions of things that happened to me, but actually, overall, over the whole journey, I've said yes. I came out of my great no. My no was my drunken years. My no was my hedonistic drug-taking years, where I was like, no, this is too much. No, this shouldn't have happened. No, the pain is too great. No, I can't. No, I'm too angry. All of that kind of stuff. And that destroyed me nearly. The resistance, the fight, the constant fighting, with my own feelings, my own world, my own inner world. And so that took me completely into crisis. And then by and by, through this unraveling that I went through, from 1995 onwards, with the shaman in the village in Wales that went through a lot of ceremonies and actually catharsis and lots of ceremonial stuff, but also in those days starting to do therapies and stuff. Really that whole life of no had completely started to come apart, so that then by and by, as I say again, when I became extremely ill in the year 2003, when I'd started, working with Amoda, and we'd become lovers by then, and out of the blue in many ways. I was not well. My body was really falling apart. But then, this illness, this autoimmune illness came on, and it was an earthquake in my life. It was but after the initial shock, I found that I had the capacity to say yes to it. And yes means you're going to work with it instead of pushing it away and fighting against it. Has a very different flavour to it. And so that yes didn't solve the matter, and it caused a lot of pain. And I went through a lot of pain and difficulty and darkness, like I said, but over time, that yes brought me into acceptance, brought me into surrender, brought me into activation, brought me into my life force, and brought me into the possibility of healing on a deeper level, and that was very profound. So, you know, that's a little of what happened. Not really, but it's just a little insight into how switching from the no, I can't. That's the victim, right? And there's no shame in that, because I think we all carry that, because most of us are victims of things that have happened to us in the family, etc., etc. But at some point, the invitation comes to actually put that one to bed now. You can't go carrying that on forever if you want to transform. To have some kind of transformation, that no has to become a yes. It doesn't have to be a yes with a celebration. It just has to be a yes. I can. Yes, I will. There's enough. Enough of the no in life. Here's to the yes that says, yes, I can, and yes, I'm willing. Yes, I will. So, I hope that video makes a bit of sense to you. Many blessings.